Of course. I expect nothing.
Yes! Exactly how we drilled it. Hotel Sierra.
We show up in the party, flyer than everybody. We show up in the party, flyer than everybody.
We show up in the party, flyer than everybody. We show up in the party.
What's going on, everybody? This is Carbon coming at you with some tips and tricks for beginners of Blackout or people who are thinking of changing to, a different battle royale mode, and maybe something that's a nice mix of like PUBG and any other game. So I want to quickly get into for the people who are new to this kind of thing, especially in Call of Duty perspective. So first tip I kind of want to throw out there, just it goes across the board, is you have to learn from losing. Blackout includes two really useful elements right out of the gate: kill cams and the ability to spectate other players. You have to watch both, because the best way to learn and get good at Blackout is to try new things, die, and see how other people do things. Like, watch streamers, watch some YouTube, watch some clips of some of the videos I upload, the background videos, learn a little bit. It's actually a decent strategy to start your first few games jumping into the most populated areas you can, in order to learn how to contend with players quickly. Knowing which guns you like and which you don't will help you prioritize your pickups, and getting experience with how each gun shoots in various situations, in close range, long range, from the hip, down sights. This will all help you win battles later. Spend some time dying to see how things feel, and watch the people who kill you to learn their tricks. Alright? It's not science. Next is I wouldn't put it up there at the top, but it definitely needs to be there. You have to use your wingsuit. So when you first enter the battle zone in Blackout, you'll jump from a helicopter using a wingsuit and parachute to land at your desired location. But this isn't the only time you can use the wingsuit. It's still accessible, but only if you're high enough to deploy. When you spring jump from a high place, so basically sprint jump, you gotta hold the jump button to deploy the wingsuit. This will allow you to glide a short distance. This can be useful when you need to escape a deadly situation or avoid taking full damage. It can also provide you a few seconds of camouflage. And note that you do need to be very high to have enough time to deploy the wingsuit, so make sure you're jumping from tall building or out of a helicopter. And trust me, there's so many times I thought I was high enough and I jumped off, and I'm like, well, guess I just jumped to my death. The next one is going to be zombies. Yes, they're all zombies within Blackout. Blackout adds to the Call of Duty flair by adding the zombies, and you won't necessarily run into them super often, but they can throw a kink in your attempts to stay alive and come out on top. If you see a zombie in Blackout, avoid shooting it. There's no benefit to doing it, and you'll more than likely give away your position and risk getting taken out. If you have to deal with zombies to save your own life, that's one thing, but if you can escape and go with that option instead, you know what I mean? Get away from the zombies, don't put yourself in the situation to expose your position, especially when you're shooting at them, And this leads me to the next one. You want to use your tools and traps. So some special equipment is also available in Blackout, and this includes items such as barricades and mines that you can deploy as traps. These give you an edge over the competition, like the grappling hook gun, for example. This can get you to zip across distances in a short period of time and onto rooftops. And as well as high ground gives you a significant advantage in firefights, providing an opportunity to ambush players hiding out in buildings, since many won't even expect an attack coming from the roof, opposed to the ground floor. The next little bit I was going to say is you got to use your perks, alright? The perks that lets players customize their abilities in the Call of Duty games still exist in Blackout, but you don't choose them at the start of the match. You find them in the buildings, or those little green boxes you see, just like weapons and other equipment. Perks do all kinds of things that include allowing you to see an enemy, enemy's planted equipment, helping you move faster while crouched or prone, and cutting the time it takes to use healing items. This is all important stuff, but don't sleep on using perks. Once you find them, don't forget to use them. They last for a set of time. Dead Silence lasts 2.5 minutes, whereas Paranoia might last 4 minutes. They last for a set period of time, plus if you fire up your perks, other players can't take them if they defeat you. So once you pop the perks, somebody can't take it from you. but I suggest using them as soon as possible. Don't always wait until the end of the game. Next is you're going to want to use the vehicles, but very sparingly. Getting around in Blackout, you need to do it fast. This will keep you alive, especially when the circle starts to close in. This protects you from campers, from people who are like sitting behind tree and bushes, laying on the ground. Being mobile is good, but don't be afraid to use vehicles for escaping to safety, getting the drop on other players, and keeping yourself in the safe zone. But do keep in mind that vehicles are extremely loud, so every time you jump into one, you're giving away your position to everyone in the area. Despite being fast and mobile, you're still vulnerable to gunfire, so prepare to avoid incoming shots with speed. Speed is always good. I love speed. I like getting into a four-wheeler and just rushing people. The next one is you're going to want to manage your inventory. When you pick up a weapon attachment that fits your current gun in Blackout, the game automatically attaches it. A welcomed improvement to the meticulous inventory management found in other Battle Royale games. So the problem starts to arise when you rack up on all kinds of scopes, magazines, barrels, and other things for guns you don't have in hopes of finding the weapon they belong to. You always want to find the weapon and then find your attachments, and if you happen to find a gun that you'd rather have attachments on, you can drop them all at once. There's going to be a lot of items you'll want to hold on to, but keep in mind that sorting them all to your inventory later will leave you vulnerable. It's better to figure out exactly which items you want to avoid picking up in order to not clog up your inventory. You never want to clog up your inventory. You only get 10 items in the bag, and then you get your equipment and then your heal on the side, so you get technically 12 items. The next big step is going to be you just have to be quiet. The sound effects in Blackout aren't as loud as other Battle Royale games, and you'll still find yourself relying on them. In most encounters, you'll hear people before you see them, and usually because they're running around or firing their weapons. So listen carefully, and just proactively listening carefully will give you the upper hand because it will help you narrow down where players are coming from. You also want to make sure to play with headphones. This way you can hear clearly and accurately and pinpoint the locations of other players. You basically want to sound whore people, and this is a huge advantage. You always want this, whether multiplayer or Blackout. And for other games as well, especially competitive games. So you want to try to minimize the amount of noise you make as well by not only sprinting when necessary and firing your gun when you're positive you can get a kill, because you don't want to get that shot off and have somebody see you or hear you, and then you get ambushed. And be careful about approaching buildings and giving yourself away to someone who might be inside listening to for those players to kill. Sound whoring people. And I guess the next tip that should have been towards the top for especially new people, and that's keeping an eye on the circle. So if you're new to a Battle Royale game, you'll want to spend a minute familiarizing yourself with the circle and how it works. As the match continues to black out, the play area of the map, of the whole Blackout map, will shrink in order to force players closer together and into battles. The game telegraphs when the circle is about to shrink, displaying where you need to go and when, to avoid it. And as the circle shrinks, the blue perimeter will travel across the map, dealing damage to players caught within, and this is where perks come into play. Where you want Outlander, it'll do half damage within the storm of the circle. The damage is fairly minimal to start, but increases over time until it's pretty much a death, because it will kill you. And it's also worth letting you know that the circle will hurt you a few times at different points during your early matches, so you know what to expect from it. There are going to be times when you get caught in the field or see an opportunity that's outside the circle, like a vehicle, for example, and you'll need to know if it's worth the risk. Finally, note that other players are also trying to escape the circle too, which means you can predict where they might be coming from as it closes in, and this is called gatekeeping. Very popular and very fun once you get good at it. Next is you always want to close the door behind you. A quick, largely reliable way to get sense of buildings is you should avoid or maybe approach is by noting whether doors are open. All doors are closed at the start of a Blackout match, and that's like across all Battle Royale games. So if you see a building with doors open, it means someone has already been there or might still be there. And by the same token, closing doors in the buildings you're looting can make it tough for players to track down your movements, because which direction the door opens is how they navigate and track you down. And as you get better at the game, you'll likely worry less about doors and focus more on speed as you're learning the ropes, and stealth is a better strategy. Always start with stealth and then get into, you know, run and gun. And the very last tip is loot and scoot. So one of the best key strategies in Battle Royale is to stay mobile. Something players call loot and scoot. The idea is that you get into a building, you grab everything you can, and you keep moving. It's true that you're on the move, vulnerable, out in the open, and some players, you know, like to hole up in one spot or in fixed structures they come across. But high-level Battle Royale players know that you're better off constantly, you know, like improving your gear. The players who continue to loot buildings get better weapons, which makes them much more effective when they finally face against their enemy, and then take their loot and just keep increasing the fact that they are more powerful. So if you want to win, you're going to need to kill somebody eventually. Alright? Guys, Blackout is a lot like other Battle Royale games. So if you're a player of games like PUBG, H1Z1, or Fortnite, a lot of your skills and strategies are going to carry over. If you're new to the genre of Blackout, you're going to need to get used to it, and there are things you're going to need to know if you want to do that well, and that's the things that I've mentioned today. And I've put together these things for you, and I hope you use them. I have other tips and tricks for running guns, best places to land. Please stay on my channel, like, subscribe. Peace.